Family Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs Series. Let's continue 100 years of World Championship fights. February 7th, 1921, World Welterweight Champion Jack Britton and Ted Kid Lewis have their 20th and final bout in New York's Madison Square Garden. Jack Britton would defeat Lewis in 15 rounds. Britton won 4, Lewis won 3, 1 draw, and 12 no decisions. Here you have Ted Kid Lewis to your left, and Jack Britton is to your right. You have Joe Humphreys behind Ted Kid Lewis, presenting him with a World Championship belt to Jack Britton. Britton retains his crown. Phenomenal fight series, a 20-bout series between these two men. American champion outboxes British title holder. In the 15th round, receiving unanimous decision of the judges. It was their 19th ring encounter. "10,000 people in the house." But on this article, this was their final bout. So I have all the coverages of all the fights that these men will be involved in. Phenomenal. All right, let's continue. March 17th, 1921. World Middleweight Champion Harlem's Johnny Wilson defeats former world champion Michael Dowd. 15 rounds, New York's Madison Square Garden. They would have a return go. As you know, Michael Dowd was a champion. He would lose his title to Johnny Wilson in 1920. 1917, Michael Dowd would take the title away from Al McCoy. March 17th, 1921. When Johnny Wilson defeated Michael Dowd, New York had a celebration for 2 straight days. May 3rd, 1921, future 5-time middleweight, 1-time welterweight champion, the great Sugar Ray Robinson was born. What a fighter Ray Robinson was. June 27th, 1921, former world middleweight champion Ted Kid Lewis, who was a former welterweight champion, who was a former British middleweight champion, would defeat Jack Bloomfield, 20 rounds, London, England, to become the British middleweight champion, and he was crowned. July 2nd, 1921, Manasseh Mauler, Kid Blackie, knocks out world light heavyweight champion, Orchard Man, George Carpentier, 4 rounds, boils at 30 acres, Jersey City, New Jersey. Jack Dempsey defeats George Carpentier. Now, before meeting George Carpentier, Jack Dempsey was approached by William Ward, who was Kid Norfolk. And his manager tried to get a match in 1918 with Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey had stated, British promoter Dominic Torchy came with a contract for a bout with the British claimed heavyweight champion Joe Beckett. So Norfolk would face Lee Anderson. Unfortunately for Kid Norfolk, get an elbow in the eye and he would go blind. So then Norfolk would face Harry Greb. In 21, Harry Greb would receive an accidental thumbing, and he would go blind for 47 more fights before he would pass away 1926 when he lost his title to Tiger Flowers. Jack Dempsey defeats Jess Willard, July 4th, 1919, Toledo, Ohio. Dempsey faces Billy Misk and Bill Benn in 1920. 1921, Dempsey faces George Compartier. Now, George Compartier was to face Joe Beckett. And if Joe Beckett would defeat George Compartier, Joe Beckett would have had the title shot with Jack Dempsey, according to contract. But George Compartier had knocked out Joe Beckett. George Compartier hooped and hollered and said, "I deserve a shot," and that he would get. Because George Compartier had knocked out Joe Beckett December 4th, 1919. So the promoter decides to borrow $250,000. That's Tex Rickard. Wanted to build a stadium at Boyle's 30 acres. He expected to hold 91,613 exciting spectators. He was going to charge tickets from $5 to $50. Jack Dempsey would get a guarantee. $300. Compartier, $1,000. Turned out to be 80,083 spectators. And they wanted a 20 square foot ring, 20-ounce gloves. Dempsey was guaranteed movie rights. Dempsey was a 2-1 favorite. He outweighed Compartier 16 pounds. It was for the NBA heavyweight championship belt. This broadcast is the fight of the century. Here you have George Compartier, Jack Dempsey, Manasseh Moeller.
Again, almost losing his feet as he threw that right-hand punch. And again. Carpentier is battered. Dempsey advancing. Carpentier is in trouble. Dempsey still belting away to the stomach. And down goes Carpentier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's up just in time. And Dempsey goes after him, and down he is again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's trying to get up. 8, 9, 10, and out. And Jack Dempsey remains heavyweight champion of the world.
July 25th, 1921. New Orleans. Former world bantamweight champion Pete Herman regains his title by defeating Joe Lynch. I showed you the illustration of that fight. 15 rounds. He would once again become the world bantamweight champion. Fight took place in Brooklyn, New York. Pete Herman was born February 12, 1896, New Orleans. He died April 13th, 1973, New Orleans. He stood 5 foot 2 inches. He was a bantamweight. He weighed 105 to 125 pounds. He defeated Young Zulu Kid. 15-round draw and a 10-round draw. Johnny Colin, Frankie Mason, Jersey Frankie Burns, Johnny Keepai. His name was Johnny Keepai Ertel. Jimmy Wild, Abe Friedman, Kid Williams, 20 rounds. Pacquiao Gatti, and Eddie Campy. Friday, September 23rd, 1921. 29-year-old Perth Amboy, New Jersey bantamweight, Johnny Buffy, defeats two-time world bantamweight champion, 25 years of age at that time, Pete Herman. New Orleans, 15 rounds, New York's Madison Square Garden. Now, you had 96 total bouts. 26 losses, 13 draws, and 18 knockouts. That was Pete Herman. He was 25 years old. He stood 5'2", and he had a 63-inch reach. As for Johnny Buff, he was 29 years old, stood 5'3", had a 65-inch reach. He had a record of 55 total bouts, 6 losses, 5 draws, 13 knockouts. Johnny Buff was born November 26, 1891, Perth Amboy, New Jersey. He died January 14, 1955. He was 63 years of age at the time of his death. He would reside in Jersey City, New Jersey. He was a bantamweight, fought from 1917 to 1926. He was in the ring with fighters such as Memphis Powell Moore, Joe Lynch, California Joe Lynch, Teddy Silver, Abe Goldstein, Midget Smith, Al Cook, Pancho Villa, and Mickey Russell. November 10th, Johnny Buff defeats young Jack Sharkey, 15 rounds, New York's Madison Square Garden. Young Jack Sharkey will be the victor. Buff defeats Herman, now holds 2 titles. American Flyweight Champion, wrestles Bantamweight Championship crown from Pete Herman, outpointing him in 15 rounds. Battle launches winter season at New York's Madison Square Garden. I'm just paraphrasing here. Johnny Buff, Jersey City, New Jersey. Scales 113.5 pounds. He was a flyweight and a featherweight champion. As you can see here, Joe Lynch takes the Bantamweight Championship belt from Pete Herman. I'm going back and forth here, just trying to show you some illustrations of some bouts that we already discussed. Joe Lynch wins Bantamweight Championship title. Herman is on the scales. We'll show you Pete Herman. And Joe Lynch is looking on. Lynch fist tears title from Herman. All right, so I just wanted to show you. This is actually the first fight between Joe Lynch and Pete Herman. We always looked at the other video, or the other illustration, I should say, with Joe Lynch and Pete Herman, when Pete Herman took the title away from Joe Lynch. Okay. I just wanted to show you the Jack Dempsey and George Carpentier 1921 negotiations between these two men. Here you have Tex Rickard in the middle there. And they're going through the contract. Jack Kearns, you see your left, standing up with the white jacket. The signing of the contract between George Carpentier and Manasseh Moeller, Jack Dempsey. Carpentier's to your right, Jack Dempsey's to your left. November 18th, 1921, Johnny Dundee, Scotchwalk, faces George K.O. Cheney, 5 rounds. Stopped him in New York's Madison Square Garden for the vacant World Junior Lightweight Championship belt. Referee was Billy Kid McFarlane. Tex Rickard presented Dundee with a brand new 5-pound jewel belt. George K.O. Cheney was born September 18th, 1892, Baltimore, Maryland. He died December 20th, 1958. He was 66 years of age at the time of his death. Baltimore, Maryland. He stood 5 foot 1.5 inch. He was a southpaw. And he had 101 wins, 78 knockouts, very high knockout percentage, 65-inch reach, fought from 1910 to 1925. July 12, 1917, George K.O. Cheney won 6 rounds with Johnny Dundee. 6,000 spectators. These men fought in the ring. January 13, 1922, Fighting Marine Gene Tunney defeats Battling Levinsky, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 12 rounds, and becomes America's light heavyweight champion. But Battling Levinsky becomes recognized as light heavyweight champion after he defeats Jack Dillon, October 24th, 1916 in Boston. February 10th, 1922, world lightweight champion Benny Leonard outclasses Rocky Kansas. We saw those illustrations. 15 rounds in New York, and retains his crown in New York's Madison Square Garden. Now, Benny Leonard weighed 134 pounds, and Kansas weighed 135 pounds. 15 rounds. He had 15,000 spectators in the crowd. Referee was Billy Cade McFarlane. He awards Benny Leonard 15-round victory in his third meeting with Rocky Kansas. And Leonard will challenge Jack Britton for the welterweight championship belt next. Rocky Kansas, his name was Rocco Tarzo, or Little Hercules. He was born April 21st, 1895, Buffalo, New York. He died January 10th, 1954 in Buffalo, New York. He was 58 years of age at the time of his death. He stood 5 foot 2 inches and had a 63-inch reach. He was a lightweight. Fought from 1911 to 1932. He defeated Jack Bernstein, 1-1 and 1 draw. Johnny Dundee, he would defeat him. Sid Barbarian, Benny Leonard, 4 times. Lou Tendler, George K.O. Cheney, Willie Jackson. Phenomenal fighter he was. George K.O. Cheney. Now I'm going back and forth with the illustrations because I have 950 of these scrapbooks. They're like 50 pounds a piece, 50, and they're all stacked on top of each other. And I'm getting out a book just to show you an illustration, so that's why I'll go back and forth with these illustrations. Now here you're looking at Joe Lynch and Abe Goldstein. World Bantamweight title passes from Joe Lynch to Abe Goldstein. That was the last time Joe Lynch would have the belt. After he would take the title away from Pete Herman. Then in 1965, Joe Lynch would be floating in the river. Well, the bay actually. Sheepheads Bay, Brooklyn, New York. This fight took place in New York's Madison Square Garden, 15-round affair, as you can see here. Very good little fighter was Abe Goldstein. Goldstein is to your left, and Herman is to your right. Abe Goldstein takes the Bantamweight Championship belt. Joe Lynch, 15 rounds. Willie Lewis, his protege, uses his left hand effectively, winning the championship by decisive margin. New York's Bantamweight title goes to Goldstein. Abe defeats Joe Berman in 12 rounds. Joe Lynch, suspended, meets accident on eve of bout in New York's Madison Square Garden. Amazing. Now I showed you Johnny Buff. And here's Johnny Buff knocking out an opponent in a championship fight. All right, family, Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs Series. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. This is Tommy Gibbons to your right and Jack Dempsey to your left. And we'll be getting into that fight, but I just wanted to show you the final illustration of this video. All right, thanks for hanging in there with me. Salute.